We're getting fueled up and ready to go because today we are talking about Dying Light the Board Game by Glass Cannon Unplugged. This was a game that made my most anticipated crowdfunding campaigns of 2024. And in general, I've just been talking quite a bit about Glass Cannon Unplugged. So we're going to talk about my thoughts on the video game adaptation. We're going to talk a little bit about Glass Cannon Unplugged and what they've been up to recently, as well as if I really need to add another zombie game to my collection. I grabbed an iced coffee for this one. We are getting caffeinated and we are going to climb into this Kickstarter preview. Alright, so before we get too far into this one, iced coffee, and I can confirm for the Discord crowd, this does Navi. The coffee does Navi. And if you don't know what that means, you're not on the Discord. You need to go down, get to the link in the description, join the Discord. We doing all kinds of fun stuff over there. But that's not what we're talking about today. We are talking about Dying Light the Board Game by Glass Cannon Unplugged. So this just launched in the last couple hours. As you can tell, it is already funded. Converted over, I'm not really sure what they're asking for. That is gone, but we are 83,000. I expect this just to... It's ticking up as we go. We can just watch it. Let's watch it for a second. See. Oh, there we go. There we go again. But I will say, I was absolutely excited about this one. I am familiar with the video game enough that I do remember when the video game came out. You know, seeing these large scaling environments, tons of parkour, jumping, climbing, and just beautiful environment. Beautiful environment. But I will say the cool thing about this one is I do have a bunch of friends that do play Dying Light the board game, or Dying Light the board game. Nobody's playing Dying Light the board game, the video game, so they're just almost excited to check this one out as I am. We're going to go into this one. So there is a 48 hour exclusive Kyle Crane character pack, so definitely get that on there. At the time of this, you should still have plenty of time to get on there. Check this out. Decide if you want to back this game. And they, like I said, I will say the cool thing that I think most board gamers are going to look at, and they're going to see this 3D terrain, tons of table presence. They did this with Apex Legends. I covered that one. I have that hopefully coming at some point this year. Excited about this one, but they did the same thing for the environment. You know, using boxes, making buildings, basically giving you a very huge vertical dynamic to this game, which obviously it needs. Like I said, I did say there was parkour, combat, urban exploration, and we'll get a little bit into more of the mechanics. I will say Glass Cannon Unplugged has done a great job getting content out for this. So if you are curious, I will throw a couple links in the description just on videos that I've seen myself. I think I think there's enough out there to let you know what type of game you're getting yourself into. But I will say it's not overly pricey. It is not overly pricey. I'm moving that. That's annoying. There's obviously, you know, some endorsements to this game already, but there are a couple different pledge levels. Standard pledge, deluxe pledge. The standard pledge, 60 euros. That is about 65 USD. I will say your biggest difference between these two are obviously going to be the miniatures. You're going to get more of a standee version when it comes to the standard pledge. With the deluxe pledge, you're going to see 68 high quality minis over your 4 high quality minis. I don't know how that will adjust. You'll see what I'm saying here in a little bit as we go down, look at those stretch goals. But we're also looking at about 110 euros, $120 USD for the deluxe pledge. That is a no-brainer for me if I'm getting into this one. I've seen the production quality on some of these Glass Cannon Unplugs, and I don't think I would. I don't think I'd want to miss out on something like this. You know, as far as I go, obviously you do your budget, but already a lot of different components in this game. Player boards, like I said, a lot of terrain. I think we'll have we get a full breakdown up here. No, we'll get a better breakdown as we go down. But like I said, miniatures versus standees is going to be your biggest decision here. But other components you're gonna get your runners. There's 4 of them, characters. I believe there's more information on that below. 54 infected standees. You'll obviously see the miniatures as well. 6 bandits, 4 large infected boss standees, 8 double-sided actual boards like your environmental boards. Custom component trays, which is always a plus for me. Anytime that these companies go above and beyond and give you a great storage solution, I greatly appreciate that. 27 differently shaped cardboard buildings of various sizes. So I'm telling you right now, that said, you're going to have multiple different layouts based on your scenarios. 20 3D terrain features, 48 custom D6 dice, 1 round tracker board, 204 small cards, 68 medium cards, 124 large cards, 120 plus tokens. And like I said, this is all just what they're saying, what you're going to get in the game. As of now, I believe you'll probably see some stretch goals. I remember kind of when Apex Legends was funding, how much they kind of added content-wise through that. And then 1 card organizer with city map and marker stickers. So, let's keep going. Stretch goals. Like I said, right now, game is funded at 50K. So, it was already 30K past that, I believe, when we were looking at it. And then we'll see what's next as far as what they'll be adding to the game. So, all of what I just said, you know, take it with what you will. Who knows what they're adding? I assume we're going to get some pretty obvious things. And one of the obvious things I would say are runners. So, runners, basically going to be your in-game characters. That's what they are called in Dying Light. So we have Prescott, which has a pretty cool stand. He looks like he's smashing them up. I will say I do think with Apex Legends, a lot of these different miniatures were, you know, very action poised. I do think when I looked at Apex Legends, the miniatures were quite good, so I would expect the same to be true here. But Prescott, you'll get the miniature and base ring and the standee, and then you'll get his card. You have Rowan. That one looks very, like I said, very action-packed looking standees. They're not just standing around. These aren't your average zombicide miniatures. We also have Cayman with that hammer. That's a bit gruesome. I will say I made the mistake of showing just even the board game trailer to my daughter yesterday, and I was like, wow, this is a bit gruesome for a board game trailer. So take that with what you will. Always screen, always screen. Gale, that'll be our 4th runner. So I would say, obviously, as far as Kickstarter stretch goals, we will probably see some more runners be introduced. Other runner components, you're going to need dice to play this game. I don't know if they go super crazy in the mechanics in this Kickstarter preview. I don't remember seeing this as I was kind of looking through this earlier, but I will say, it being a zombie game is one thing. How you actually mechanically interact with the game is something else. It's definitely more of a dice roll, a dice selection, utilizing those dice to make the best potential moves as you can. You may have an idea what you want to do on your next turn, roll poorly, roll better, and decide, hey, you know, while I have these dice on the table, let's do this instead. So I do like that kind of dice puzzle. I think this is what the most intriguing thing as far as what sets this apart from other zombie games to me. But there's your character boards, 32 skill cards, so I don't necessarily know how that breaks down. I don't know if those are just, you know, things you gain, things you start with. 24 weapon cards, those are obviously things you're going to be finding as you are, you know, adventuring these maps and adventuring these scenarios. 16 wound cards, I do know how that kind of works. I do believe you kind of get a wound, and then on the second one it becomes like a heavier wound, and then it actually has like an ongoing effect that will affect how you do, how you manipulate the board, you know, whether you're losing dice, losing momentum. So here's a little bit more. We'll check that out as it goes on, and I'm going to dive back into this beautiful iced coffee. Okinawa Ice, one of my favorite places locally to get iced coffee. Vita Bella, if you are local to me. And I'm sure a few of you on the Discord are probably thinking at this point, I am single-handedly keeping this place in business after the last week. Well, let's keep going. The city. So as you could tell, you're basically, you know, in this post-apocalyptic zombie infected, I believe is what they are called, world. But it looks like we're going to have a lot of variety, which is something that I was, you know, semi-concerned. I wouldn't say concerned, but I do like to see alternate setups, you know. I like to see, you know, you having to do different things, manipulating, especially when you have this 3D terrain. This is gonna be freaking awesome. I'm excited. 8 double-sided boards, so, you know, you, like you said, more variety, always a good thing. 27 buildings of different sizes and shapes. That's cool, because you're probably not going to fit 27 buildings on every layout. So very, very cool. You're gonna have 20 walls of different sizes. If you've seen any of those overviews, they're obviously kind of section the city out, kind of making you have to climb up buildings, scale buildings, jump from building to building. Like I said, very, very focused on movement. We'll get that in my final thoughts a little bit. Round tracker board, you could kind of tell it's split. You're gonna have a day portion, a night portion. A lot of the video game is kind of, you know, being during the day. It's gonna be a little safer, a little bit more predictable. Once you get into that night, you know, all hell's gonna break loose. So, you know, variable turn order, things like that. 124 large scenario cards. I was looking through this earlier, trying to figure out we actually had a scenario count, and maybe question maybe how they're actually doing the scenarios, if there's maybe a bit of randomization in there. I don't know, but I did watch some gameplay. It's very, you know, A to B objective based, but I will say the coolest thing is I felt like there was a lot of story. It wasn't like you were just kind of leading, you know, reading an intro and then saying you need to do A, B, and C like a Zombicide game. It is very much like this is happening, you'll read this, then you need to do this, then you'll read this, then you need to do this. I like that. I feel like that's very immersive as far as getting into another zombie game. Then we're just kind of talking about more components, you know, your tokens, whatnot, your loot. Very cool. A campaign map organizer. Not necessarily 100% sure what that is, but the cool thing right there, custom component trays, that's always a big deal for me. If you have seen in recent weeks, I did a whole video on games that I want to reorganize. We'll be doing some custom inserts on those in the next couple of months, so definitely stay tuned to check that out as far as that is. I am an organized. Let's think here. What's a good word for that? I like my games organized. We'll just leave it at that. Very cool. You know, little clips showing you how these buildings go together. Like I said, this is something they did in Apex Legends. Definitely something that was very, call that eye candy. Eye candy. Infected. So I believe we're looking at that, and we have about 8 different infected types. That kind of includes the bosses. You'll have your standard biters. This is a deluxe pledge miniature. So, like I said, biggest difference between your base and your deluxe minis. You'll also have viral infected. Looks like I can't tell if there's two alternate standees, whatnot. It looks like there's alternate standees, so I would assume maybe there's alternate miniatures, maybe 2 different types, just to kind of keep a little bit of variety in the way it looks. Volatile, get 4 of those, and then howler, some howlers, 4 of those. So, I believe then we'll be getting into these bosses. So, you got a goon. That guy looks ferocious. I do like the different colors on these. Not just your standard gray. That always is very cool. You got a demolisher. Check that guy out for a little bit. Oh. Gruesome. It is a zombie game. Revenant. So, another infected boss. And then Banshee. So, very cool. You'll have to let me know what you think of those, especially if you played the video game, how these kind of feel like you're crossing over as far as, like, your cosmetics, whatnot. And then you got bandits. It looks like we also have at least, maybe, they all look pretty similar. I can't tell you if we got... it looks like the miniatures, at the very least, have a couple different models, but you're getting 6 bandit miniatures. Very cool. That is, I think, a huge appeal when I was looking at when they trailered the video game, having like that day phase where you're kind of, you know, dealing with other humans, people trying to take your stuff, thieves. Beware of the infected. So we'll check out those miniatures. I mean, they did a pretty good job. I feel like really adding some eye candy to this campaign page. I really appreciate it. Oh, so good, so good. All right, so. Here's going to be a little bit of details about the story as far as that goes. So if you're familiar with the video game, hopefully this kind of is a, you know, crossover that makes a lot of sense. But I do, like I said, I think the art, I feel like on the art card, the card art is going to be very vibrant. I love this look of how they kind of are picturing the post-apocalypse zombie-infested lands in the video game. So hopefully that crosses over as far as kind of those vibrant colors, almost kind of gives them like an uncharted feel a little bit. Let's keep going. And now we get to the knights. So whole different world. Not so vibrant, not so pretty ferocious. Man, they did a really cool job showing these off. And I don't know if you saw that windmill. That is something we'll get to at the bottom. But urban exploration, just kind of like I said, getting to scale these buildings, get weapons, get equipment, complete objectives, work together. This is a cooperative board game. Yeah, cooperate and adapt. Okay, so you got, like I said, different scenarios. You'll have like outpost phase. I did notice there was like, flares going on, infected zones. If you don't know, there's like a story progression, shelter management, which is aspect of like Frostpunk or this War of Mine. I'll talk about Frostpunk a little bit when we get to the end of this. This is something I have had a lot of thought on as of late. But I like this cool, I was looking a little bit of some of the video game footage, video game trailer going into this last couple days and kicking zombies off buildings and stuff like that. Very, very cool. Parkour and combat, though. So we get another really cool GIF. Yeah. So this is kind of showing how you're going to, roll your dice, slot them in. Some of them have, bonus sides, which are basically going to make you do stronger abilities for less of a cost. Blank dice will basically they'll cost, multiple depending on how strong an ability you're going to do. There's a whole momentum aspect. There's a whole aspect of the more you do, the more attention you're going to draw to yourself, basically bringing on more threats. So, sometimes doing smaller but meaningful turns have pretty good payoffs. So keep that in mind. I do like that. Like I said, I kind of mentioned that with day and night cycle, as far as what to experience there. Random turn order, more structured turn order during the day. Just basically bringing on some chaos. Trying to, like I said, I really feel like they put a ton of effort into making this a game that feels as close to the video game as possible, and I think that's cool. Here we go. Oh, there we go. So a little breakdown on that. Day, player initiative, bandit threat, ease of exploration, night unpredictability, stronger infected, heightened exposure. There we go. Problems might get bigger. Oh, you don't want to see that guy come out. Okay, so, oh wow. Day, night feature, components glow under UV light. Jay, if you're watching this, you're my R&D guy. We need UV light setups for the gaming table because I know how much you are excited about this game, and we need to make this pop. That's cool. So there is quite a bit of content, as I kind of mentioned earlier. Glass Cannon Unplugged's done a great job. They have a lot of previews breaking down the different aspects of this game, comparing it to the video game all over. I don't feel like there's been too many previews as far as prototype copies. There are a couple out there. I have watched them already. Some of them came out today. So if you needed a little bit more initial thoughts as far as how this game breaks down, this is really just a high-level profile of the campaign. And as always, I know there are other videos out there as far as crowdfunding previews go, so I do appreciate you checking this out with me. And always leave me a comment as far as what you think, because I will give you my thoughts, and, I like it when it goes both ways. This is what I was talking about. So we do have those. We have that, core and deluxe pledge. We do have an add-on, and I don't know if maybe we'll see more add-ons get released through Kickstarter stretch goals. If we do, we may see a larger pledge level. I could see that happen. I will say, Apex Legends had a huge drastic overhaul as far as the way that different pledges were broken down, and they took a lot of feedback during the campaign and literally reorganized the entire pledge structure. So you just don't know what Glass Cannon Unplugged is going to do. They are very intuitive to what their backers want, so leave them comments, let them know. This is one of those companies that I feel like is somebody I'm probably going to follow for the next couple of years as far as seeing what they do, and we'll get there. I don't want to break too far into that, but we got a windmill expansion. That's 35 euros, about 38 USD. So basically a whole nother module. It's gonna add a really cool windmill miniature, some scenario cards, ledges, just adding some additional challenges, whatnot. There's your kind of your components breakdown. I don't know if this is necessarily a huge theme as far as the video game goes. So you have to let me know as far as if that's the right call as far as them adding that content this early in. Like I said, I wouldn't be expect to see a few more things like this going on. I don't know if they've necessarily got to the pledge manager aspect of that because I definitely wanted to cover that and talk that. Here's more previews though. Board Game Co. Alex has got a video. It's I do think he hit this one spot on. I agree with a lot of what he said, and it definitely made me more excited as far as his initial thoughts on this game. Obviously, prototype. There are things that could change. So production, obviously this will go into pre-production as soon as this campaign ends, just a lot of that. I will say I've been very happy with the way the Apex Legends campaign has been ran. That was my first Glass Cannon Unplugged campaign, so I have no complaints going into this one, but I will say Pledge Manager, they will be using their own Pledge Manager. It's in there. I use their Pledge Manager to finish up my Apex Legends pledge. It is pretty intuitive. I do believe they usually have some add-ons, whatnot. It kind of feels like a web store with like your pledge system, so you want to pick up something else, you will probably be able to do that there. Shipping costs looked pretty reasonable. I think core was 20 USD, deluxe was 24 USD. Keep into account that additional add-ons will probably impact that, so don't completely think that is a locked-in price. Glass Cannon Unplugged does have a Discord. I do follow it. They are constantly, I believe they actually dropped a tabletop simulator demo yesterday. If you were on Discord, you would have got the link. I do believe it's live today. That is something for me that I do plan on jumping into. That is something I also hope to get some content out before this campaign's over. Tabletop simulator, I don't even know if I saw that in here. Maybe I didn't make it far enough down, but I will say just a bunch of, a little bit about the company. This is a European company. That's why most of this is in euros. Good luck and good night. But I will say there's kind of your risks and challenges section as far as that goes. But going back to the tabletop simulator, it is, I'm going to scroll up. Actually, we should be able to do this faster. That is something I'm hoping to get out before this campaign's over. So if you are interested in seeing, some demoed playthroughs, we like to do those over on the Discord. I am very happy with our community over there. They are amazing. We do fun stuff like that all the time. I don't know how big of a interest we'll have to necessarily jumping into Dying Light. That is something I'll probably have to learn. But I will say, going to my biggest conversation as far as this game's concerned, it does look true as far as they can do to the video game. So if you're a fan of the video game, chances are you should like this one. I think the big things that you wouldn't like are pretty obvious as far as mechanics, dice manipulation. Not manipulation, but dice rolling, using them to, do the best of your turn, use them as best as possible. But I will say, zombie games in general, I don't really like to flood my collection with a ton of similarly themed games. I do have 3 zombie games that really stand out to me. I do have a Zombicide. This isn't Zombicide. I don't even know if I would say this is, other than maybe the fact that it's scenario-based, but more story-driven. That's probably going to be my biggest crossover there. I do have Zombie Kids. I do play with my daughter. Obviously, no way even close. But the third one I have is Tiny Epic Zombies, and I know a few of you, at least on the Discord, have played it. I know it's a game that's kind of got mixed reviews, but what kind of drew out this comparison to Tiny Epic Zombies is just kind of the movement. There's a huge movement focus on Tiny Epic Zombies as far as like rolling a die, doing melee actions, being able to only basically attack after moving. And so that made me think as far as that constant movement, this is kind of how this game is, a very big focus on movement. So for me, that is a huge positive going into this game. Glass Cannon in general, Frostpunk, yeah. I did look at that for the last couple weeks. It is something I'm interested in picking up. I thought about picking it up just kind of unbox and get into around this campaign. It was one of those games that I thought looked more like it was probably the better solo experience, but it was also Yeah, it's very time consuming. Setup, gameplay, and it was just something I wasn't really right for me currently. Not saying I won't pick it up in the future. It does look much like a lot of Glass Cannon Unplugged, very much like some eye candy that I would like to get to my table. Apex Legends, if you haven't seen any of my content on that, it was something I previewed as being one of my most anticipated games to get in this year, as well as talked a little bit about on my crowdfunding, my most expensive crowdfunding pack. So if you haven't checked that out, want to know what I pledged on the Apex Legends campaign, go check that out. I'll card it, link it somehow. You can get there. And then if if you haven't already heard, they are doing Diablo the board game, which will crowdfund later this year. Don't know a whole lot about that. I have some friends that are massive Diablo fans, and I am familiar with the IP, but it's something I am also very anticipated checking out, also in my anticipated crowdfunding campaigns of this year. So go check that out once again if you haven't already. But I do think that is pretty much going to wrap up this preview. Let me know what you think about the pledges. Let me know what you think about Dying Light, zombie games, Glass Cannon Unplugged. This kind of feels like this is their time. These last couple years, they've done fantastic stuff. Excited to see what they do. Frightened, actually, it might be the most appropriate word, what they're going to do, because these games are deluxe. They are, I wouldn't say costly, but they are on the upper end of, board games in general. So let me know what you think about that. I will catch you guys all on the next one. Meet me over on the Discord to discuss further. And yeah, much love.